This is my video discussion of the geminate verbs and trying to guide you through how to spot a geminate verb lemma in relationship to the verb stem pattern notes as well that we've talked about a number of times in the exercises and in other videos. So let's start here with the cal. Okay, geminates in the cal. I just want to more or less walk through what you see in Futato here in a little detail, just to maybe try to calm your nerves as far as the geminates go. But in the cal, in the perfect, now we've said, and you should know by this point that one of the keys to parsing is knowing your lemma. In fact, it's just fundamental to being able to parse. And in the perfect, you're going to have a lot of help with geminates, because the key to identifying a geminate lemma is that the second and third consonant are the same. They're duplicated. And if you look at the perfect carefully, in all of the persons and numbers, you have a very clear indication that the second and third consonant are doubled. So in other words, in the perfect, you should be able to spot the lemma immediately. Look at you either have it right next to each other, bet and bet. In these forms right here, we get down to the second masculine singular, you still have it. You just have it with a dagesh. So to pronunciation-wise, this would be sabota. You'd pronounce the bet twice. This is a doubling dagesh. So double B, 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 double B. They all show the double consonant 2 and 3. And of course your endings, you've got your suffix perfect endings memorized by now. So the perfect should be no problem with geminates. Look at the endings. Do I have the doubled consonant? Are consonants 2 and 3 identical? Imperfect is a little tougher, because here in these forms you've got your imperfect prefixes, of course, but in a number of them you don't have indication that you have a doubled consonant. Therefore, you don't have an indication that you have a geminate. Now, the good news, of course, is that there aren't that many geminate lemmas in the Hebrew Bible. Savav, that he uses for the pattern here, is one of the more familiar. But you're going to have, under your imperfect prefix, an A-class vowel, specifically comets, followed by an O class. It's never going to be holum vav, so you should not mistake this for an infinitive absolute of cal. It'll always be the short. Now, it's true that infinitive absolutes in the cal can be spelled defectively. That is, just the holum rather than holum vav. That's true. But again, if you come across a form like yasov or asov, just try them out. Does it make more sense to take this asov as first common singular cal or as an infinitive absolute? That's really what you've got. You only have to choose between those two. And you should still, again, also be able to use vocabulary, because let's say you had asov. If this was a cal infinitive absolute, that would mean your lemma has to be aleph samach bet. Do you have that in your vocabulary? No. I don't even know if that's a Hebrew word at all. So if you don't, then that should clue you in, okay, maybe I don't have an infinitive absolute here. Maybe I have a cal imperfect of savav. Maybe I just have a geminate lemma, and the one geminate lemma, the third consonant, has dropped. Now, otherwise, when you get into the plurals, except for nasov down here, you have the doubling indicated. Right, here it is. Here it is, here. I have these two in yellow because these are the only instances in the cal imperfect with geminates where you won't have that holum. You'll have a short U vowel that takes its place. So again, hopefully that is enough to help you get through the imperfect. Now, imperatives, again, are tough because you're chopping off the prefix, so you've got sov and sobi. Now this one you've got indication of doubling, and down here as well. So without a prefix, that would have to be an imperative of a geminate. It's the only thing it could be. This is not a pual form. Why? Because in the pual perfect, ana is not a perfect ending. It can't be a pual imperfect because there's no prefix. So when you get something like this, again, it doesn't fit any of the pual patterns that that you should have memorized cold by now, because the pual is pretty easy. You're going to have to look at this dagesh and go, okay, what if I double it? Savav, okay. I know that lemma, Savav, that's a geminate, so now I know what to do with it. Again, you're going to have to do things like that with the geminate forms. In infinitives and participle, again, participle, look at the forms. They'll be very easy because they indicate the doubling. No doubt that Savav is your lemma, and it's easy to parse. Sovev. You know your lemma, your first vowel is O, it's a cal participle. Okay, those are easy, and then we've just talked about the infinitives as well. Again, construct Shiva holum, and it shows the doubling. That should be easy. Infinitive absolute, Savov, shows the doubling. That should be easy. The only tricky one is the abbreviated one, which we talked about earlier as well. What about the hifil? Well, in the perfect, we have, as we would expect in a hifil perfect, now catch what I'm saying, we have a hey prefix with I-class vowel. Right there it is. Hey prefix with I-class vowel. So you notice, again, in this case, we don't have any doubling here, but we have tsera tsera. Now, that's not going to be a sign of a first yod lemma, because that's only a tell for the cal imperfect. The cal imperfect. Here we have a hey, and that's hey isn't an imperfect prefix. So that should be enough to help you with this one. And of course, this one, it's going to show the doubling. Even though the vowel changes here, look what you have. You have a hey prefix and a perfect ending. It has to be hifil. Even though you don't have the I class here, it can't be anything else. It can't be PL, it can't be pual, it has to be hifil. And you get your clue. You can see the doubling of consonants 2 and 3. In fact, you get that all the way through the rest of the way. So here you get big time help. You have a hey prefix, you've got doubling, and you've got your perfect endings. You should be able to identify hifil perfects of geminate lemmas. Imperfect, now you get consistency here. Your prefix, of course, you'd have to know this is a prefix because you only have 3 consonants to work with. But if you have this, and you certainly would know it here, ta save. I mean, that's definitely, the issue is, this one here, is that a lemma or is that, an actual form? You still have A class, I class, A class, I class, A class, I class, the whole way. And here you get help with doubling of the consonant, and in the plural forms you get help with doubling. So you know that your lemma is savav right here, and then you can get the rest. If you know the lemma, you're going to get the rest of the parsing. And na save down here, again, would be a trouble spot, a difficulty. When we get to the imperatives, again, hey, A class, I class. That's a sure sign of a hifil. The only issue is hasev, is that a lemma in its own right, or is that a form? Is that a morphological form? The rest of them you get help. Doubling, doubling, doubling. You would know your lemma is savav. Then you say, okay, I know my lemma is savav. I have a hey prefix with A class vowel followed by I class. That's a hifil imperative. I mean, that's what it's been the whole way through the strong verbs, the cal stem, the whole bit. Geminates, as far as hifil infinitives, again, the participle. Participle, you'll get help. Mem with I class. Again, now, again, the hifil, it should be A class, I class. So you don't get complete help, but you get a little bit of help here because you've got your tsere. Let's go back here. Just like hey save, if you knew this one, if you memorized that one, just that one, this one may save, you might want to memorize because they have the same pattern. Be a hifil participle of savav. The plural form, you get help with the doubling. We talked about the infinitive construct already, and the absolute is the same form, so you'd have to tell by context if you suspect an infinitive whether it's an infinitive construct or an absolute. Geminates with nifal, well, we get a nun prefix, but it's not ni, so these are tough. Now, the only thing you can really say here, you're going to get help the rest of the way except for third masculine singular. I hope you've noticed that. You go down here, look, double, 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 double. The whole way you've got your lemma. If you have the lemma and you got your perfect ending and you have a noon prefix, the only thing it can be is nifal perfect. So those are going to be easy. This one will be hard because you don't have much to work with. You might want to memorize this one, third masculine singular. Imperfect, again, look what you have. Oh boy. Man, is that confusing. I thought the consonants 2 and 3 should be doubled. Yeah, they should. But again, in the top two, you don't get that. Down here with nisav, you don't get that. Instead, you get the dot in the first one. Well, why is that? It's because it's nifal. Prefix, hirik, dagesh, and you don't have comments here. You just have a class. These are the tough ones. The nifal are the tough ones because they violate the pattern just enough to sort of create confusion. But hirik, dagesh, a class, that's sufficient. If you know what your lemma is, then you know that it's sort of an aberration. It's not hirik dagesh comets, it's hirik dagesh patak, hirik dagesh a class. The plurals, again, you'll get your lemma because look, you'll have the second and third consonant doubled. Then you'll know it's a geminate. And then again, just remember that with geminates in the nifal, it's not hirik dagesh comets, it's hirik dagesh patak. Okay, if you memorize anything with a nifal, that's the thing you should memorize. With geminates, in the imperfect, it's not hirik dagesh comets, it's hirik dagesh patak. Comets, patak, same vowel class, but it's different enough to, to make you have to memorize it. Imperatives, again, over here you have the same issue. Imperative nifal, you're going to have that hey prefix, hirik dagesh patak again. You'll get some help when you get your second and third doubling here, this consonant. Again, hopefully that'll trigger in your mind, okay, I have a geminate here, I have savav. So with the lemma in mind, what would this indicate? Hirik, or hey prefix, hirik dagesh patak. Well, I thought the nifal was hirik dagesh comet. Okay, all right, now I got it. Because it's geminate, the pattern changes just a little bit. And you should be able to get there. Again, infinitives and participles, nasav. Again, this is difficult to know that you've got savav as a lemma. I would recommend memorizing this form and going back this one. Again, if you think about it, it's consistent. Here the perfect has the patak as the theme vowel, and the participle it has comets. But again, you just have to know what the lemma is here. Infinitive construct we talked about, and of course absolute we talked about. The difference, of course, will be the O vowel for absolute. And that is the video on geminates. Geminates can be a little bit of a headache, but again, look for the tells, especially that second radical that has the dagesh, because that'll be the doubling of radical consonant 2 and 3. That's the end of this video.